Chapter 9. Anya. Memories haunted Anya in the form of dreams. Her body burned and ached as she drifted in and out of consciousness. At first, she was outside, watching the snow fall, when a girl with dark brown eyes pushed her onto the cold snow. The girl was pressing Anya's head into the snow so hard that the ice began to burn her face. She tried to free herself, to push the girl off her, but the girl just laughed at her, digging Anya's head into the snow even harder. Anya felt the scorch of the white snow on her face. She struggled to breathe, and just when Anya thought she was going to suffocate, another voice called out, and the girl released Anya's head from her grip. Anya raised her head quickly from the ice and breathed rapidly, trying to fill her lungs with oxygen. "You're so disgusting," the girl hissed, giving Anya a kick on her side. The blow knocked the wind out of Anya, and she coughed, trying to regain her breath. When the girl was finally out of sight, she turned onto her back and watched the snow fall, wondering what it would be like if she too could just melt into the ground. The scene changed, and Anya found herself in darkness. She had been there for days, without anything to eat. Her stomach grumbled at her. Salty tears fell from her face, and she licked them, hoping they would quench her thirst. The door opened, just a crack of light coming in. A voice spoke. My, aren't you a sad little pathetic thing? Why don't I help you?" Everything swirled out of view. She was walking home when the sounds of screams hit her ears, and the smell of smoke hit her nose. She looked up and saw that it was all burning. She looked down, saw the pool of blood at her feet. She looked ahead and saw the heads, letting out a scream of pure terror. Anya opened her eyes and looked up at the white ceiling. Was this another dream? She sat up, feeling her body aching as she did. "Anya! Oh my God, you're awake!" She looked up and saw an exhausted, disheveled Ernesto rising up from the couch, his black hair sticking up every which way as he cried out, "Javier!" Javier came rushing into the bedroom, looking even more disheveled than Ernesto. "Anya!" He breathed her name, his golden eyes staring at her wildly. He gave a sigh of relief. "You're finally awake." Anya looked at both of them. She was confused, but she kept her face blank. "What happened?" she asked, looking down at herself. Her body ached, but there didn't seem to be anything wrong with her, other than that. Ernesto got pushed off Koi Sky Residences, remember? You jumped after him, Javier said carefully. Anya searched her memories of the event. When she found them, her eyes widened in amazement, a smile creeping onto her face. She had used Flash Step. Not only had she used Flash Step, but she used it while falling through the sky and while transporting someone else. Her aunt's voice crept into her mind. "You can do anything you set your mind to, Anya. You're as strong as the rest of them." For the first time in her life, Anya was starting to believe that, and a feeling of pride swelled inside her when suddenly a pillow hit the side of her face. "Stop smiling," Javier snapped. "After you performed your little—" He waved his arm in the air. "Vampire trick. You passed out for 30 hours straight," he hissed. "I thought—" He stopped abruptly, then said, "You are prohibited from doing that again." Anya was surprised at this. Although it was unfortunate that she had slept for 30 hours afterwards, and she was in slight pain, she didn't think it should stop her from harnessing this new ability. "Javier," she began, "I don't think that—" "No!" He practically shouted the words. "I am telling you right now, I do not," he spit the words, "do not want to see you use that ability again. Do you understand me?" Anya's eyes magnified in shock at the intensity of his words. This ability could benefit them. She didn't understand why he didn't want her to use it. She began to feel annoyance rise up inside her, and she was about to say something when he said, "Ernesto, give Anya a blood bag. They're in the fridge. I'm going to bed," and walked away. Anya crossed her arms, ignoring the slight soreness. "It's okay, I'll get it myself," she huffed, not wanting to see the look of disgust on Ernesto's face. But to her surprise, Ernesto got up from the couch and handed her a blood bag without so much as a comment. She took the bag from him, trying to hide the bewilderment on her face. He wasn't smiling, but he didn't look repulsed either. Even more jolting was that he plopped down next to her on the chair. "He stayed up next to you all night, and this morning," he said softly. I'm not sure if you saw the splint he was wearing on his hand, but that was you. You broke his hand, and he still... Ernesto took a sharp breath. He still never let your hand go at any point. It was only when your breathing and fever went down that he finally left her side. He's exhausted. Anya tried to keep her face steady as feelings of shame and guilt began to overtake her. She had noticed Javier's splint, but hadn't had a moment to ponder it. To hear that it was her fault, she could have buried herself in a hole from the remorse alone. I still don't know what to think of you, Ernesto continued. Knowing that vampires exist in this world, it's been a difficult concept to wrap my head around. Knowing that one lives in my house and plays with my son, well, he shook his head, that has driven me about half mad. But you saved my life. Despite the way I've treated you, you still jumped after me. I would not be able to hold my honor if I did not at least say thank you. Anya could not hide her surprise this time. You're welcome, she said, feeling a little awkward. A moment of uncomfortable silence passed between the two of them. Then Anya remembered. What happened to Carlos? Oh, Ernesto spoke. Javier shot him the moment I fell off the roof. We already sent his body as proof of kill to Diego. Anya thought back to the distance between Javier and Carlos, then gave a smile. Javier's always been a good shot, she said. Ernesto returned her small smile with an uneasy one. Yeah, he is. That evening they flew back home, picking up Santiago on their way back to La Hacienda. Though they had arrived a couple hours late due to Anya being out of commission for so long, Santiago hadn't minded one bit. She watched as all of his friends wrapped Santiago in a tight hug goodbye, the scene making her feel empty inside as she wondered what it was like to be so loved. The car door opened, and her eyes, which had been looking out towards the window, met Santiago's. A wide grin spread across his face as he lunged at her. Anya, I missed you. She was surprised, and her body still ached. But when he wrapped his arms around her, she found herself carrying his hair, with a smile on her face. Santiago, take it easy, Ernesto snapped his fingers, knowing that Anya was still in pain. Santiago let Anya go, but couldn't stop grinning the whole 5-hour drive back home, talking non-stop about how he had spent his whole weekend. Anya felt at peace.